Your car guy here. Today we have a 2007 GMC Yukon Denali or a Suburban. And what we've had happen is one of the children got a little overly excited with the door handle and ripped it off. Now, the handle is broken inside where this mounts. You know, this part looks like, hey, it's okay, it can be put back in. It is broken. We're going to show you how to take this inner door panel off, remove this handle, and replace it. But also I'm going to show you how to fix these handles if this one is repairable. So we'll go in there and fix it up. Okay, for starters, we're going to want to get, there's a panel inside the door handle here on the inside. You see that little slot? We'll take a screwdriver, pop that out. That'll give us access to the screw or bolts behind that panel. So what you're going to want to do is just take a screwdriver in that slot, pry out, and then that little panel is free and we can get it out of our way. Then we can see we've got our 10mm bolt right behind that will undo to free the panel up from the door. So we can just take a 10mm socket and just remove that bolt. Next, I'm going to go ahead and remove this switch panel. You can just reach up underneath the back here and pry up. It comes up. Then we can unplug the wire socket from it there, and that'll make it so it's not still attached with the wiring when we go to remove it. You see at the back there is a push tab right here. See if I can show that push tab there that you just push in, and you're not supposed to drop it like that, but it removes. We're going to remove this little cover here. That'll allow us to remove this plastic piece of the lock and get it out of our way. So we'll just pull this cover out with this screwdriver in that slot. So we've pried out that little piece. You see, it just locks right onto the lock rod and holds it in place. And then we can pull that piece right out of our way for removing the door panel. So before we pop loose all the door panel, there's a cover here that we're going to remove the bolts on the door pull. And they'll be there because they keep that strength where you're pulling the door, having the bolts behind it, keeps you from just destroying the panel. You can see there's our two bolts that we'll need to remove. Again, with these, 10mm socket with a wrench and an extension so you can get down into there and just remove those two bolts. Now, to get the door panel loose, it's nice to have a panel and trim remover tool that you just slide in behind the panel, and then there's the spots where it'll have the connection and you'll just pop them out, and you can kind of move it up and down to find where the pins are that you need to pop loose. I find it's good to start down at the bottom. Gives you a little more flexibility when you're pulling the panel out, and you'll just sit there and pop it loose all the way around. All right, once we have the door panel loose, the next step is to remove this cable from the inner door latch. All right, to remove this cable from the inner door handle, there's two clips on either side that need to be pressed in, and it'll slide out to the back. Then we can rotate it around and pull it up through this open slot here. So we just are going to pry up on these two, this clip, and then down on that one, just squeeze them together and basically pull out straight. All right, now with the door panel out of our way, a few little things left to do. We're going to take this off, which is just going to pull right out of our way. And there's also a plug here that's going to come out. That goes down into the bolts that mount the door handle so that we can take them out. So it's just a matter of pulling this away with the adhesive. Try to work it nice and slow. You can keep all the adhesive in one piece a lot of times, and that way it'll just go right back on nice and easy, and you won't have to deal with any problems or buying new adhesive. For the most part, this adhesive, it's very flexible. It'll work over and over again, so you don't really have too much trouble with it. Like I said, see how it's coming away just nicely. Just be gentle, don't rush it. You can move it a little with your fingers. It's not really going to stick to your fingers, so you don't have to worry about it being too messy. Work it all the way around. And there we go. That's out of our way. And now we can get a good view into our broken door handle. We can see a piece hanging down here that's supposed to be attached up inside there. So we're going to go ahead and remove the handle itself. There's a bolt at the back of the handle that's straight through this hole here. Again, it's a 10 millimeter. We're gonna go and we're gonna loosen that up and we'll get to the next step. Then we have another 10 millimeter right here up for the front of the handle. With those two out, our handle will remove. Now it's gonna pull out because the piece that's on the back of it is broken off that would have had to been disconnected from the latch rod here. I'll show you that once we get it out. Okay, now that the bolts are removed on the inside, we can pull this off, but it actually has to slide forward in order to come out. It's got a little plastic lock right there that slides back in and locks it in place. Now that we have it out, we can look at fixing it. Now with our main handle out, we just need this last piece here to come out, and it's attached to the linkage rod, if you can see it right there. Now it's got a curve that you just simply need to pull this around that corner to remove it, or you can disconnect it down at the bottom. There is a, see that orange thing? That is the lock tab that you can simply open and remove it. Now I removed the lock tab with the rod. You can work this around that S curve if you need to, but the easiest way is to just pop open that lock at the bottom, that orange lock, and remove this entire piece. So now that we look at this, we can see where this piece was attached right here, and that's what activates this door handle. Is you pull, it forces this rod down, which opens the door. Now this one's broken. You can see where it was in place, has been busted out. So it's busted pretty good, and I can fix this, and because I haven't ordered a new handle yet and don't want to wait, I can do a temporary repair that'll work. If you just buy a new handle, you can go ahead and start installing it right now. If not, I'll show you a way that works to repair these. Alright, so what we're looking to accomplish here is to take this broken rod, which fits through here, and there would have been a full shroud that comes over right here that's broken off, and this part that's broken here, and we want to secure them. Now the way that this goes together is this would have been down through the handle piece, so I've reattached the outside handle part because they don't tend to break, which it just plugs down into the bottom here and then slides in and moves in and out like that. So what we can do is we can put all this together. Now you do have a spring here that's going to fit. That pin's going to go through that spring. It's going to go around that. The outside tall leg of the spring is going to be against that part of this latch release, and the lower part you can see where it hits right here on the body. Now in order to give this some strength, because if I just set this back together, this thing's going to want to fall right out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some holes right behind here and here, and I'm going to run mechanics wire that I can take and tighten up and secure that pin into place to hold everything tight for a temporary repair until I get a new handle here, which, you know, I'm going to order one online. It'll be less expensive and you know, a lot easier to deal with than trying to find one locally and order one locally. So I'll get to drilling some holes and show you what we do. Alright, so what I've done in preparation for this is I've drilled a hole back in this corner right here. You can see it. That'll come right down into that slot opening right there. I've drilled a cross hole through, and then another one just on this side. That's going to give me a place to route and tie my wires and pull the pin back into this groove that it was originally in. I've also put a hole at the back here at the top and one through the side here for this side of the pin, so that I can have my wire come through and be pulling that pin back into the handle where it belongs. Alright, I've pre-installed my wires. I've run this one down and through and back up through that hole there so that it can capture the pin right here. I can twist it tight. Now this one I've run from the outside and this side, and I'm going to bring a loop of it up that the pin's going to go through, and then I can attach these two ends to each other and tighten it, and it will pull that pin back down into this seat. Alright, you can see I've got my pin wired in tight by twisting the ends of the wire together. until I've got a good tension on them on both sides. This will give me a nice temporary solution until my new door handle arrives. And I haven't spent any money. I've spent about an extra 20 minutes putting this back together. So it should get us by for, you know, a week or so. All right, we're going to reinstall the door handle now. I'm going to leave this rod attached to the handle. That way I can just take and drop it right down in. Then slide that whole assembly back into where it's going to go behind the door panel. I'll have to make sure that I get slightly forward with the door panel handle once I have it up in place, and shove back to lock that plastic tab there. Then I can insert my bolts from the inside and tighten it down. Okay, with the door handle set back into place, I want to attach this rod down here to the latch. All you're going to do is just simply stick it in at the height that it's at, and then close the clamshell to latch it into place. Now, once I put my two bolts back into my handle, I can test the door handle before I go putting everything else back. Okay, with the rod and everything reattached, I'm going to go ahead and close the latch here and just test to make sure that when I pop the handle that it opens, and it does. So we have a working temporary repair, or if you put in a brand new handle, a replacement. If for whatever reason it's not unlocking, you may need to adjust that rod. The higher up you adjust the rod in that clip, the more push it has downward to unlock it. The lower, the less it does. So move it up higher in the clip if you need it to open and it's not opening on your first shot. Now we're going to put things back together. So we put our inner noise barrier or vapor barrier in. Make sure to thread your power window connection through, and it's just being held on with the adhesive. Next, we're going to go ahead and grab the door handle and hook it up. Next, we'll put in the door panel. Biggest part of this is going to be getting this on. So we're going to take and reach down in here. Let's get you a good view there. We're going to slide the ball down in. Then we can pull the entire assembly out behind and simply jump forward to lock back into place. We're going to make sure that we have our wiring up through this slot, and then over here we're going to take our lock rod and make sure that it is up inside where it belongs, and then we're going to simply get our door panel back in place, line up our locking tabs as they go in, and lock it all in just by pressing it into the door. Now that we have the door panel sitting in place, we can just simply slide our lock back down over the lock rod and then put that centerpiece in that locks it in place. And you can just use, because we know the door is unlocked, there's a little bit of wear and grime. You can see it's going to fit right there. We'll reinstall our 2 bolts behind this door handle and then simply put the cover back into place just by pushing it right in. And we'll go ahead and put the bolt back in right here in the door handle. Also plug back in our window switch and snap that panel back down into place, and we will be done. And there we have it, our panel's back on, and our door should work, and it does. So we have done a nice temporary repair, and now can order our new door handle but not have to run around without having the use of it or the ugliness of that part hanging out and missing. This is your car guy. Don't forget to like and share our videos. Please subscribe to the channel. YouTube's got new rules. I can't monetize without 1,000 subscribers. So if I'm helpful to you, please just do me the favor of subscribing to the channel, and I'll continue to put up as many videos as I can. Thank you.